Steps into it. Pass is caught. Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable. Vikings win it.
Hello, let's go. It's your man Flip Mozzie, and thank you for spending 15 minutes with me today. We are just a few days away from Vikings training camp. Football is back, baby. But first, I know it's been a while. I know nobody missed me, but I'm going to tell you what I've been up to anyways. The summer of 2018 has been a summer of change for your man Flip. New opportunities in my life came up, and like Case Keenum, I seized them. New things for my professional life, and a brand new city. Leaving Dallas was bittersweet. I love that city. You should too. But now I reside in sunny Southern California. Yes, Los Angeles. First things first, before any y'all start hating, I got here before LeBron, so you better know I'm on that King James MPLS Lakers bandwagon. I will go see LeBron play in person, probably in the cheap seats or against the Hornets or something like that, because those tickets are gonna be expensive. Number 2, you know I have that date circled on my calendar, September 27th, Thursday Night Football, Vikings at Rams, and I'll be in that pristine white Stefon Diggs jersey. So I'm excited to be here in the City of Angels, and I'm ecstatic that training camp is just around the corner. And you know, while personal life took me away from the NFL and the podcast a bit, I really enjoyed the break. It allowed me to escape some of the off-season overreactions that are just rampant on the internet these days. Some of these off-season stories, non-stories that just don't matter. I don't really care about Jameis Winston or Julio Jones. I don't care about the supplemental draft or LaShawn McCoy or Terrell Owens or Le'Veon Bell, any of them. Look, I get it. Gossip is fun. Fans are bored. Still, none of that crap matters. It's all drivel compared to what will happen over the next month. The meticulous preparation of the Vikings 2018 53-man roster. It's time to talk about the real issues of the 2018 NFL season. There's an intriguing mix of quarterbacks, 5 new ones and 4 coming back from injury. Which quarterbacks will start? Not our problem this year. What will we see in our peek behind the scenes of the Cleveland Browns during Hard Knocks? I'm ready to learn more about some new NFL personalities in Cleveland. But the Vikings reign supreme, and so that's who we'll be talking about in this pod. We're thinking about the current squad, what we should care about, what we should ignore, while trying to sate our thirst and eagerness for football. Before reports start streaming in from Egan, I'd like to highly suggest you check out Luke Braun's 90 series at PurplePTSD. Keep it close at hand. It's an immense help to help match characters to the name trying out for the team, and it'll acquaint you with all the lesser-known Vikings. While I tend to be results-oriented, it certainly helps to know who everyone is when hearing about camp battles. And that takes me to my first rule of training camp. Position battles only matter if the loser gets cut. Wright versus Treadwell isn't a big deal. Neither is Mack versus Hughes. Those gentlemen are extremely likely to make the roster. Whether Kendall plays in front of Laquan or Alexander stays ahead of Mike Hughes, we'll find that out during the season, not before it. Evade those two topics and pay attention to the athletes who have everything at stake. There are 3 running backs, Rock Thomas versus Mac Brown versus Michael Boone, trying to fill the 3rd RB spot. There's a backup defensive tackle battle between journeyman David Perry and prospect Jalen Holmes, if they choose to move the rookie inside. Then, we've got to ask ourselves what Holton Hill does to Marcus Sherrill's cockroach status. And what about Kentrell Brothers? Will the 4-game suspension for a PED violation make him expendable? Or can he fight off preseason superstar Eric Wilson and college superstar Devontae Downs to maintain his spot on the squad? If Wilson can put together his second great preseason in a row, and Downs' health allows him to show his maximum talents, the backup linebacker competition will be the best camp battle in Minnesota. You heard it here first. The top 4 wide receiver positions seem set, so who will step up to be the 5th and 6th pass catchers? Stacy Coley had a paltry 47 snaps in 4 different games last year. Did he learn enough to keep his spot safe? Tavares King hasn't truly stood out since his college days at the University of Georgia. Can he make good on what might be his last chance in the NFL? Or will an up-and-comer like speedster Jeff Badette or Don Beebe's son Chad flash enough to steal a role on the roster? Finally, of course, there's the kicker battle. Writers and fans are already counting every leg sweep that Kai Forbath and Daniel Carlson take, because whether it's right or not, their livelihoods depend on it. Only one of these kickers will make the team, and that alone makes it more exciting than any competition for a starting role. Iron sharpens iron. Alright. Well, I know that no matter how much I beg you not to pay attention to all those overrated, trope-filled storylines that will surround the Viking starters, you will. Those will be the stories that get the biggest pub, so let's talk about what we should be looking for from the Vikings' biggest names. I'm going to say the most important things first here. Nothing about how Kirk Cousins performs should convince you of anything. I don't care how many perfect spirals he throws, or who his favorite targets seem to be, or how many fake sacks he takes or interceptions he throws. None of it means anything. And yeah, that's true for most mainline starters. Are you telling me that a highlight reel catch made by Adam Thielen while he's wearing shorts is going to tell you something you don't already know? What more could he possibly have to do? Just stay healthy, Adam. Is a report that Everson Griffin bested a backup left tackle with a swim move important or relevant at all? Don't even practice, Griff. We trust you still got it. There are going to be so many reports of Sheldon Richardson and his fit with the unit, it honestly just shouldn't move the needle. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Ignore all the hype. And ignore the gripe too. We're all worried about our offensive line. How are they going to protect our $84 million quarterback? How will they move piles for one running back coming off a knee injury and another who doesn't exactly create running lanes on his own? While those are all valid concerns, the same applies. Nothing the offensive line does is going to convince you of anything. Do y'all remember training camp last year? Mike Remmers was injured for all of camp and most of preseason. The line looked like a disaster in the preseason games. Then the season started and everything was fine. Don't buy into the hype or the gripe. If you really want to get some tangible takeaways from camp, this is how you do it. Number 1, fall in love with the daily reports on the starting rosters. While there's a lot of coach interviews during camp, Zim and his staff has always been coy. There's little information in their words, but there's plenty of information in their actions. Seeing a young player get first-team reps is a very good sign at how he's progressing. Which linemen are the most likely to start? The ones getting the reps. Which receivers are likely to make the team? The ones getting the reps. Second of all, look for multiple reports. Fam, I'm dying to be in Egan this summer and jealous that some of you will get to go. We all have our favorite reporters, bloggers, and fans that we follow, but come on. To trust the word of one report or tweet or video or whatever is madness, not Sparta. I don't care how legit the source is. The only way to discern what is really happening in camp is collect several points of view telling us how the practices went down. Training camp is the calm before the storm. The cooler heads will get the most out of it. Now here's rule number 4. Health is paramount. Look for injured players to rebound and get preseason reps. A lot is riding on Dalvin's healed knee. The Vikings just don't have the running back depth they had last year, so a healthy breakout from the backfield chef would be just what the doctor ordered. All the right things are being said about Cook's recovery, but they're just words. Trust the process, stacking the good days, attacking his rehab hard. Forget all that. We need to see the man running at full speed with pads on, not a lot of it, just a bit to give confidence heading into the regular season. And Dalvin Cook is far from the only starter we need to see back healthy. Remember that Nick Easton fractured his ankle in Week 15 last year against Green Bay. This year, Joe Berger is retired and Jeremiah Searles is in Carolina. We need Easton to lock down a starting role on day 1 of camp. And right next to him on the offensive line, I'm sure that many of us forget Pat Elflein being carted off during the NFC Championship game. Elflein broke his left ankle. He got the exact same surgery Easton received just 2 weeks prior. That's 2 ankles in the middle of the trenches that must prove they're fully healed up during training camp. Now for the defense, Everson Griffen had a fantastic 2017. It started hot with sacks in 8 straight games and petered out when the sack daddy was slowed by a nagging case of plantar fasciitis. The torn foot ligament basically cut his effectiveness in half. Griffen remained on the sidelines during OTAs and minicamp, so this July and August will be the first reps he sees. Now he's a vet, so I'm not expecting a heavy practice load in camp, but still, we gotta see him moving at full speed too. Finally, Andrew Sendejo injured his calf in the NFC Championship game and sat out OTAs because of it. Jaron Kearse took starter reps in his place, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens there, since there's no guarantee that Dahill will be ready next week. It's a simple but important desire for camp. Let's see Cook, Easton, Elflein, Griffen, and Sendejo back at it at 100%. Let's avoid new injuries and enter 2018 with a roster that's fully stocked. Last but not least, we have to talk about the 2 superstar players that could steal the entire show. Not on the field, but off of it. Paper and ink could be the biggest storylines of camp. I'm talking about Stefon Diggs and Anthony Barr. Diggs, the swaggering playmaker who made the play of the postseason, has grown to make a bid for face of the franchise and is set to sign the hefty contract extension that he deserves. Honestly, I find any hesitance, for whatever silly reason you want to use, they can't afford it, he's got injury history, they gotta pay Thielen too. Give me a break. Pay that man his money. Here's another thing about these contract talks. Every time a player makes his salary demands in public, fans balk at the sky-high price tag. Here's a memo, ladies and gentlemen. That's how negotiations work. You don't just come out and ask for some reasonable amount. You request as much as possible and then negotiate back from that high salary figure. You think Diggs is going to come out and ask for $12 million a year? Why would he do that? There isn't a single good reason. Ask for as much as you can, then have the team negotiate you down from that high starting point. And everything I just said about Diggs goes for Anthony Barr too. He's not the least important one just because he's the last one. He's not going to walk because they signed Diggs. It's not an either-or decision. Letting Barr or Diggs walk would be an absolute travesty. The Vikings didn't wait on these guys because they're expendable. They waited because of the 4, Kendricks, Hunter, Diggs, and Barr, 14 and 55 are the 2 most difficult contracts. They're the most important, which gives the players more leverage, which makes them the longest negotiation. Diggs and Barr are irreplaceable. That's what makes the paper and ink so exciting. If Diggs and Barr lead the training camp narrative, we'll have a ton to be excited about for 2018 and beyond. Lock those dudes up. Get and stay healthy. Look for those emerging starters and those critical position battles. That's what camp is all about, y'all. Here's to the return of football. That's it. Time to shut it down.